Taneytown Planning Commission, please come to order. I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. It's great to see a large group of here that people are interested in what's happening in our city. So with that, would you stand for the pledge to the flag, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the records reflect the members that are here this evening. Commission members should have received the draft minutes of January 30th, 2023. Is there any corrections or additions to those minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from January 30th, 2023 as read, or second as written.
Second by Bill. All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Carried. Thank you. Delegation and action items for this evening. First item is the this is a tongue twister. Historical College. Would Jim or Dan would start us out on that?
So what we have tonight, Mr. Chairman, is the Restorative Cottage. It's an acupuncture and life coaching business. Presenting late is going to be Karen Heiberhart. She will come up to the podium in a second. The business is in general, the building is in general business district. It was a dwelling. It's being converted to a business, so your site plan is triggered at that point. And very low activity threshold is going to happen in the building. There are 3 spaces in which therapy can be administered. At this point, Karen is going to be the only person working out of the facility. There is the ability for a second and third therapy room. Parking for this type of nursing, if you will, is the closest thing we can find, and that requires 3 spaces per practitioner. Karen's business plan is that she only have 1 client at a time. A lot of her work is also life coaching, which will be done virtually. So the building may not even be used a good bit. So we need to be careful to understand the parking ramifications, because for the 3 therapists, at some point 9 spaces would be needed. There is a 3-car garage in there as well. Karen may address that. Karen, I will steal your thunder, but I don't think I missed anything there. Again, low use is the building right beside what was Rob's Tower Automotive. Karen was like, oh.
I understand you're looking for a site plan waiver. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak into the speaker better, because we can't hear you back here?
Sorry for having kind of lose my voice. Is this any better?
Yes, it's better. Thank you.
Put your hand up or thumb up if I start backing away. Karen?
Hi, good evening. So it's Restoration Cottage is the name, and it will be a wellness center by appointment only. And I'm an acupuncturist, a nurse, and a wellness coach. So half of my work is done remote, and half of my work will probably be in person. Right now, I'm the only person wanting to use the space. As stated, there is possibility for other practitioners coming in. Right now, I don't have anyone lined up.
Okay. Do you have any questions or comments?
So we just consider I guess, could you just go to the parking again? So there's a maximum number that we need to have?
So for a dentist office or a doctor's office, they require 3 spaces per practitioner. So our business is not like that, but our code reads it that way. So need to make some type of agreement for parking, but again, 9 is what the code would say for the building, but her business is different than a dental office or a doctor's office. Yeah.
So is there any requirement, is there any requirement on ADA? Is this much different other than the location than a home occupancy?
The home occupation business, typically for a customary and incidental, you don't have customers or patrons coming to the home. A home occupation special would be like the single seat beauty salon, that sort of thing, where you have customers coming to the property. When it's a home-based business, I don't think the county pushes the ADA requirements on those home-based businesses. But in this instance, I would imagine that we'd be advising that there will be a change of use building permit required because it's going from a dwelling to I don't know if the term clinic would be appropriate. It's kind of an unusual usage, but it wouldn't be residential any longer. So part of that building code process, the building inspectors and the design professional would address any required ADA issues. It wouldn't be really a zoning thing.
Okay. The Wilson Avenue Alley Street, is that still a functional? I know it's a dead end and it's gravel. So what's the status of that street pertaining to where her business is going to be and the parking?
At this point, it's just the driveway for this property. Properties that used to be accessed by Wilson Avenue have been readdressed to Brake Iron or Amicus Street. So technically, there are still references to Wilson Avenue in old deeds, but as far as the emergency services and everything, it's either East Baltimore, Amicus, or Brake Iron now.
Okay.
Now, is there access from the back?
No.
There's a fence.
Okay. I mean, that property goes to the,
The property goes to the back.
okay.
You can, I would say you could access it from the back.
Okay. We're good there. We're good there.
Without a doubt, there's not a hard curb or anything.
Right.
Okay. Anybody else have any? Any comments from the floor? Okay, there again, you're requesting a site plan waiver. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, 1 second. So, Janice, I highly encourage you to enter into some type of agreement about parking down the road. That the understanding would be that she doesn't need any more parking for what's there right now.
It's only her.
Yeah. And I don't think she's going to need it for the second, third.
Right.
But if you all choose so, we would have to put in some type of public agreement, not really a public works agreement, but an agreement for if you open up room 2 and room 3. We just have to be careful that, it changes hands and it turns out to be a dental office, and the next thing you know, people are trying to back out on 140. So that's the concern here.
So what would be part of the agreement?
So that if you were to permit and ask for a second and third, would that be a separate business?
I mean, I think I have enough parking even if I brought in a second person. We've got the garage there where we've got at least two bays there, so that can be practitioners. There's enough parking there if you go across for at least 5 cars, 6 cars right there now.
Okay.
So I don't see the problem with a second practitioner.
Okay.
We have the whole back lot behind the garage if we wanted to put something there for a third practitioner.
Okay.
So what type of motion are we looking for?
Just let her do what
It's
she,
kind of to make this simplified. Pardon me?
you let her do what she wants to do.
So she should address the 7th and 8th and 9th parking spot in the event that she goes with a third practitioner. But there's plenty of land there for her to do that.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
to access Wilson Avenue past that garage, there's property back there that you could,
Correct,
so I think that would address that issue.
correct.
Or would we want to make the motion limited to 2 practitioners? And then she would have to come back.
Is the 3 for 1 an absolute? You seemed, is there any way that this could just be 2 for 1?
Well,
I mean, a lot of practitioners are doing remote and in-person these days. So
Right.
it is a by-appointment only facility. It will not be a
Right.
walk-in.
It's not gonna be a
So there will be a sign on the door, by appointment only. So it will be limited traffic into the facility.
So you're gonna know the traffic that's gonna come through there.
Correct.
So,
Correct, so it's not a walk-in.
right, so that's gonna be.
So what's the purpose of the A-frame sign in front?
The A-frame sign,
Thought I read somewhere
Go
about
down at the bottom.
somewhere if you want to do a sign.
Old plastic sign.
I'd like to put something up so that when people drive in, they know what it is. I put up new house numbers, you know, that kind of thing, so that they know this is the right place to come.
And I'm assuming that's for, you'll say by appointment only or
It
something.
will say absolutely by appointment. There's going to be a laminated sign on the front door.
Right.
You know, my web address, by appointment only, please contact me. It in no way is going to be a walk-in facility.
I like the last sentence where you said you'd like to put a wooden sign. I'd rather see something like that than an A-frame sign.
I don't even know what an A-frame sign is.
Like, like you see on the sidewalk, or like you see in front of Hillballs Insurance bounds. They have it, but that's a temporary because of the seasonal.
Right.
But they
That's a
do
little
have a
bit
main
hard.
sign.
That's a little bit harder to do on that property because of the hill.
Yeah.
There's a hill there would not be advantageous, right, I know, to put that there because it would just fall over. So eventually I would like a sign according to code. He gave me the codes for that, so.
Okay, so we're back to,
But as far as parking, I think we just said that if there were 3 people there, we need, what?
Right.
6 more parking spots, right? You need a total of 9.
For this evening, perhaps saying for up to 2 practitioners, and then if it does expand to the 3rd, then you just need to make another trip back at that point and talk about how you'll add maybe a couple extra parking spaces.
Does it matter that that space is already there in the back?
Is the yard not considered a parking space?
it's not paved either. I mean, you have, what, 3 spots there that's paved?
4,
4. Okay, plus the garage.
plus the garage.
So there's 6 already.
Right. So if, and just to put things in perspective, if I wanted to take my house on, you know, whatever, East Baltimore Street and convert it to a business and come in and tell you guys, well, my customers are gonna park on the front lawn, you probably wouldn't go for that.
Right.
So, you know, the code requires a lot of things when a property switches from residential to commercial, but when it's a modest change and the use is not particularly intense, we have the ability to waive that process. But that's our only shot to have these conversations about parking, about things like that. So, and since our code is, I believe, silent on acupuncture, we need to figure out the closest use that is in our code, which might be a clinic. I'm not gonna take, you know, Daryl's interpretation away from him, but it might be something like that, or, you know, the closest thing might be a medical office. So once we say, okay, now it's a clinic, now it's a clinic, and it could be sold to somebody else who wants to operate a different type of clinic. And they might need more parking with that, you know, some other operation. So this is our only chance to have these conversations. So once you waive it to be, say, a clinic, now it's a clinic. And, you know, unless they physically expand, you don't get another shot at it. So that's why we just need to make sure that we have these conversations now.
Yeah.
I'd still like to fall back to the 2 practitioners.
I think that's reasonable.
And I would like to take a little consideration on the property because Wilson Avenue is gravel. And the means to get to their parking is on a city street, alley, whatever that's called, but it's Wilson. And it's gravel. So would somebody like to put that in a form of a motion?
Doesn't own that anymore.
Excuse me?
The city doesn't own that.
So who owns Wilson Avenue?
Me.
That's what I understood. Yeah, Wilson Avenue is gone.
Right.
Yeah.
So then that whole strip all the way over to,
Driveway. I own it all.
you own the driveway?
Yeah.
Did Creekside deed the sidewalk over to you guys?
Yes, they did.
Okay. Wasn't sure if that ever happened. Okay.
Okay. So that puts it all in your property then, okay. So I would still like to see that put in with the two practitioners. Yeah. So would somebody like to put that in motion so we can move forward?
So we want to allow this business with up to 2 practitioners.
Yes.
What we want to do.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we allow this business to proceed with up to 2 practitioners allowed at the site.
And this is a waiver for the site plan.
Yes, sir. Waiver for the site plan.
Okay, motion was made by Mr. Morris, second by Mr. Brown. Is there any comments from the floor? I'm sorry if I keep leaning back from the mic. Any more comments? Okay, all those in favor of that motion? Waiver the site plan, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise, it's carried, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll never make it through this evening. Next item on the agenda is storage today. Darryl, would you like to lead us off again on this?
Sure. So back quite a few months ago, when Storage Today came in, they came in with a concept plan. It was very early in the process as far as in fact, I think the next day they were meeting with MDE to go over a lot of things. So the prints that were delivered to your home Wednesday show a lot of the activity, the response letters, comment letters that we've gotten from CDM Smith, the county, so on and so forth, have all been addressed with, have mostly been addressed. There's one that needs to be addressed, it's item number 8, I believe.
Yeah.
It talks about, there's a pipe out there that needs to be sleeved or rerouted or whatever, and we'll work on that. But that has to be addressed at some point before. So in any case, they're well through the county process, and they need to be updated certainly from a concept plan, but you guys can go from there on that.
Okay, what was the date for the concept plan approval? Has it been over a year?
No.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Both of them, so it's under a year. It's quite a bit. But thanks for the Barbara Walters question. How's it going? Yeah, Jim, I think it was, I'm not sure which month it was, but we're in like the 7th or 8th month of that.
Okay, so we're in good shape there.
Yes, sir.
So they're seeking preliminary approval tonight,
Yes.
but we still got the issue on the wall and the storm drains, right?
Yes.
Is that the only issue we have?
To my knowledge, that is the only issue.
Is there anyone here from storage? Would you like to make any comments or?
Well, Bill Brennan with B&O Design Group, and I have Eric Heimerman, the contract purchaser, with me. Basically, we've been through the county review process, and they have no objection to approval of the site plan. In fact, we're well beyond preliminary site plan based on some of the county and the city's engineers' comments. We've supplied building plans for them. Due to ADA concerns, we've actually done elevations and floor layouts and submitted them to the county. We've also done detailed wall plans for the city engineer for him to review. That's been submitted. And so we're well beyond the preliminary plan stage. We're almost to final site plan and construction documents right now. The only issue right now is the contract purchasers obtaining a title report. That just came in today. There's a question of whether the sewer line on the project is private or public. So the title report will give us some information as to the status of that. And then we'll sit down with the city engineer to determine whether we have to relocate the sewer, sleeve it. But that's more of a final site plan and construction document on how to, on what the status of that sewer line is. Otherwise, the only other item that we do not have to go to construction is final soil conservation approval for a sediment erosion control plan. So that's where we stand. So we'd ask for your approval of the preliminary plan so we can move forward.
Does city have any reason why not?
No, we just have to make sure that, we're still addressing whether it's a public or private sewer line.
Okay, we can pick all that up before we do the final.
Right.
Okay, any comments from the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the motion for the preliminary site plan for storage today, as stated.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Okay, motion made by Brown, second by Bill. Any further discussion? All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, likewise? Carried. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Planning Commission members.
Okay, next item is Fraser Property, Antrim Boulevard North, General Business District, concept site plan presentation for new commercial business. Daryl, would you like, or Jim, whenever you start us off on that, please?
So tonight, we have we're calling it the Fraser property, and we're calling it North. It's the area after Lloyd, heading towards Strabane on the Grange Cardinal Drive side of Antrim. Pretty exciting news. They're proposing a hardware store and a lumber yard. And I'd like for them to go ahead and present, please.
What you're putting up is what we have in front of us?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
My name is Aaron Valentine, CLSI. This is Martin Rickle with CLSI as well. So this is the concept submittal plan for a hardware store and a lumberyard. It will be an indoor lumberyard. The property is about 14 acres. We're developing it, and it is a commercial use. The hardware store will be about 13,000 square feet, and the indoor lumberyard will be about 8,000. We actually have two options based on some input we received from the county. This option does not include the Hartman Street connection option. This is the second option. And this just shows the connection between Hartman, which is dead-ended now, into Antrim, which is part of the county's master build-out plan.
Okay. So if you go through this, Hardman's, what's the name of that?
Hartman Street.
Hartman Street?
You plan on connecting that to Antrim?
Yes, that's part of the county's master plan. Originally, our first option was to not do that, but after they had a planning meeting, we received that input.
Okay. And the area's gonna be fenced in?
This is very early on in the process. This is our first sketch concept submittal. That'd be something we'd probably figure out through reviews and back and forth with the town and the county.
Okay. So this is just a presentation.
Yep, just initial.
Do you have anything that predicts what's the building gonna look like? Is it gonna be a metal building? Is it gonna be some type of stick build or what?
We haven't got that far, but our client is here, David Lapp is here. He may be able to shed some.
Would you like to come forward and tell us a little bit about your building and?
Good evening, I'm David Lapp. We live in Emmitsburg, and I've had this dream for quite a while, putting a hardware store somewhere. And so we're looking to, my thing was always, I want to put up a store that you're going to remember you were there. So I wanted, it's going to be a metal metal building.
Something like a Butler building or something like that, or?
So it's going to depend on financing, see where we can go, but I want to, if I would build it how I envision it, we'll have large cathedral ceilings, it's going to be it's not going to be your average hardware store. I want to go above and beyond with the building, with the customer service, and just make it a great community place to shop.
Okay, appreciate that. My favorite memory is going through $109 hardware store across the street. If it wasn't there, he could find it.
Yep,
So,
you got it.
so, okay, any other comments?
No, my only question was the Hartman Avenue and.
Is the what?
Hartman Avenue, and we answered that already, so that's.
Okay.
That was the only question I had.
Sir, in the back, come forward, please. Please state your name.
My name's Mike Marasco. I'm at 177 Carnival Drive. The backyard would face the site map, and according to this picture I have here, it's called Forest Retention Area as of 1991. Now, how can you sell forest retention land to somebody to build a business?
Okay. Anybody from the staff can answer that, or Jay?
There will be a county pre-submittal plan, and any land around this facility will be scrutinized. The site plan will be scrutinized by the county.
When?
Whenever they schedule it with us. It should be probably next few days, a week, hopefully.
Well, I don't see how you can sell land that's been put aside for what do they call it, retention area, without changing the surface and area of what's going on in our subdivision.
Okay, so what are you saying that's at?
Here's our site map. And I live right there, and that sign's right there where the end of that dot is, where the arrow is. And they got them all along here, and there's a couple in the woods there. So, if you give land to be forest retention area.
That's his lot.
Oh, okay,
That's
yeah.
that 3.45 acre lot.
That's another,
That's another.
that's not the fees property.
Why did they find it?
I don't know. And so we're not giving land to anybody. We're just trying to help the business process. So
understand that.
again, that will go through the county process.
Okay, and
That'd be one of the processes that we'll have to go through.
you know, this is a very vague way of saying what this is. Can we get a better understanding, a better map of where the store is gonna be, where the lumber yard's gonna be, and such forth, you know, a regular blueprint type look at.
So I sent you an email with 3 drawings on it.
I didn't get it.
Okay. Yeah, it has the same things in front of us that you, because you had emailed and I had emailed you back.
Now, what's the name of this?
I'm sorry?
I had emailed and asked for more information, and I didn't get the map.
That's my wife.
Okay,
I'm what?
okay. So you didn't,
I think that it's lovely that it was sent to me because I requested it, but I think that it's important to other people who are still in, who are also in the neighborhood, to have that same information.
okay, well, then they should have sent me an email, or somebody should have spearheaded a group to do that. I'm in my office 40 hours a week, and if someone calls me once, whatever it is, if I release it to the public, I will. So you guys asked for it, I sent it to you. If 20 other people have done the same thing, I've done the same thing.
I didn't get it. So,
Well, okay, check your junk mail, but I can prove to you that I sent it, because it didn't bounce back to me.
and, because this was all I had. And what's the name of the store?
Ask them.
We're not sure yet, maybe Taneytown Supply or Taneytown Market.
Well, this all seems very vague.
Well, it is at this point. This is just a concept plan.
Presentation.
Just a present.
Okay, I'm just saying.
So there are further steps.
Information considering it's being built in the back of my house, so, you know, the people on Carnival Avenue, the one side is gonna be, you know, the backyard's gonna be facing that, so I would appreciate more information.
Okay, well, I'm sure as time goes on, pay attention to what's happening here in town, and you're welcome to come to these meetings. And I appreciate your comments, and that's what we need to hear.
Yes, we do.
So I'm sure within the next month or so, this will be on the agenda again.
Okay, thank you for letting me speak.
Certainly. Jim, did you have a comment you wanted to make?
I was just going to offer that we are at the concept stage, so it's just a very, very rough idea at this point. A lot will need to be figured out by the developer's engineer as to, you know, how they're going to address stormwater management, make sure that the traffic's going to flow in the parking lot properly. There's a lot that goes into the plans, but at this stage, it's just the basic idea, and that's why we're here in a public format, so that people do have the opportunity to come and see what's being proposed and provide some comments on it. And each time the plan reaches the next stage, the developer will present the plan again in a public meeting, and there's opportunity for public comment, and those comments are considered. You know, they may not always result in what everybody wants to see, but, you know, we will hear the comments, and if they're applicable and something that we can act on, you know, we certainly take that under advisement. But, you know, this is the process, so the input at the early stage is great. And there are a number of reviews that have to go on. There's, you know, the county is able to identify any forest conservation easements that are on the property, so that will be part of the review process when we get to that point. But this is just the first, you know, the first showing of the plan. So there hasn't been any formal review really at this point. That will come once we've had a pre-submitted meeting with Carroll County and start talking about which agencies will review it. So there's a lot that goes into looking at these plans, and this is really just the very rough idea for it right now. So.
Okay, and do you gentlemen have any more comments?
Thank you.
Okay, please come forward.
There's a couple.
I'll catch you back here. I'll catch you.
David Fieser, part of the Fieser Family Partnership. And maybe to enlighten that gentleman, there is 14 plus acres of ground there, and it has all been mapped out for years. And there's only 5.12 acres that is buildable. So, you know, I don't know what big concerns are, but I mean, you know, all the set aside and like that is, you know, it's not going to be built on. And whenever Mr. Lapp does it, he knows that he's going to have to pay reforestation fees and like that for the 5 acres that he's going to cut out to build his building.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fraser.
Thank you.
Ma'am? Please state your name.
Hi, my name is Rhonda Bordeaux. I live at 163 Carnival Drive.
163.
Our yards already now get flooded from the water that comes down off of the back of the property. And looking at the building and where it's going to be, that's going to push more rainwater into our yards. And like I said, my yard already floods by like a 9-foot area in the backyard of my property. And I mean, is the city going to be responsible for any more floodwater that comes to our property off of this?
Part of this, it will be flood management control too. So it'll go through the county to take care of some of these issues. Jim, you had a comment?
Right, so we actually have our own stormwater ordinance here in Taneytown. It does need to follow the criteria of the state. Basically, there's a model ordinance, so everybody in the state's ordinance looks pretty similar. And Martin, if you want to speak in more detail, I'll just try to hit the basic idea. But the requirements are that the water that leaves the site post-development, so in its developed condition, can't adversely affect anything. It can't run off faster or more with more intensity than it does before it's developed. And in addition to that, now the state standards are so tight that in addition to that, the water quality now that runs off is supposed to be equivalent to runoff from woods in good condition. So the idea is after stormwater management is done on a parcel and it's developed, the water leaving that parcel not only will be at the same or slower pace than it was pre-development, but the water quality will likely be improved as well, because the runoff from a farm field or just a grassed area is typically not as clean as water leaving a woods in good condition site. So that will be, again, part of that process. The engineer will design some stormwater retention facilities, and here in Taneytown, not much infiltrates, seeps into the ground, as you know. So that does present some problems, and that can limit how much pavement a property can have if they can't, they need to figure out how they can manage the runoff from the rooftop and the parking lot and the entrance and everything. And the idea is that they can't do any harm to the surrounding properties. They can't, dump all the water off onto somebody else's backyard. So it may not make it any better than you see now, but it can't make it any worse.
Okay, and also, because of the picture of it, it literally comes into my backyard. I mean, it's like literally the back of the building. Is there going to be a road behind this building for deliveries and things like that? Because there's not going to be literally much footage from the back of that building to my fence. And also, you said that it's going to be coming from Carnival Drive. The road's going to be put in on Carnival Drive between the two houses?
So the existing stub of Hartman Street is planned by the city to connect out to Antrim Boulevard eventually. And typically when there's a planned street like that, it just sits idle until that property that it's supposed to cross eventually develops. And at that point, it's usually put in as part of the development. So that's been a plan for the cities for many years. Back when the Forest Glen subdivision was created, the plan was for that stub of the street there to connect out to Antrim Boulevard.
Okay, are you going to do something about Carnival Drive? Because everyone knows, I mean, there's been hundreds of emails and complaints on the sites because our children play in the road because there's nowhere else for our children to go. If you're going to bring more traffic through Carnival Drive, our children's lives are in danger. They all play in the street, they play football, they play basketball. That little tiny side road right there is where the children ride their bikes back and forth. Now you're going to be bringing more traffic through Carnival Drive, and you're putting all of our children's lives at danger.
Go ahead.
I don't really want to get into a
We already want speed bumps put in every so many feet. We've asked for street bumps to be put in because they fly through our neighborhood already, and many of our children have almost been hit. And this has been happening over and over again, and we've asked for help, and now you're planning on bringing tons more traffic through our street. I mean, we already had a severe problem.
So I am aware that the police are there frequently for actually complaints about children playing in the street.
With the kids in the street.
And that's something we're addressing because I have heard that has happened as well.
Yeah, they are out there playing with them. They let them go in their cars. They spend time with the children on our street. And it's the only place our children have because we don't have a small park for them to go in. Actually, we wanted for that little small street actually to put maybe a little playground in there for the kids can be there. Or something that would actually be for our children off of Carnival and Grand because we have nothing. And that's where our kids play. If you bring more traffic in there, that's going to bring more trouble, and our kids are going to end up getting hit and killed.
I can't speak in any detail to why children are playing in the street and why parents are condoning that in the Carnival Drive neighborhood. Most of the homes along the 160 block on have yards. The townhouses, do have very limited yards, but the single-family homes, which are adjacent to this part of of where this property abuts, do have front and backyards, much as any other house throughout town. So why?
A lot of them don't have children up in that upper area. Most of our children are on the lower, from 165 down. We all have children, and they do play with the children that are in the neighborhood. Like I said, they play their baseball, their football. They go up there and play basketball and soccer together, and the street is the only place that they have, because we don't have any side areas for our kids to play. We have nothing for our children there.
Okay,
Bringing in more traffic is going to be a big problem.
we understand your situation. Your entrance is only going to be off of Antrim Boulevard, correct? Yeah. Okay, and then there'll be some type of buffer. We put a buffer between your business and the residential area, correct?
So there's always a screening requirement where you have conflicting uses like residential and commercial. So, those buffer requirements they can be satisfied by, fencing, a berm, vegetation, or some combination of that. But to be, frank about it, I mean, you're still going to know there's a store behind you, and the store is still going to know that there's houses behind them. It's not going to be, make it invisible, at least not right away. But as far as like the loading and things like that, that's something that can be taken into consideration as the site evolves, as the design evolves. If that's...
I mean, does it have to come back so far that it's literally in our backyards up against our fences? I mean...
So the layout's based on turn radius of delivery trucks and traffic, and like they said, it's very early in the process.
Right, and then all the noisy trucks are gonna be in our backyards. It's gonna be all hours of the day. I mean, that's a total interruption to our lives.
Well, I think the operation of the business, limited when the traffic will be there. I mean, the normal hours, I'm sure it's going to be 7 days a week. From
days a week. Only 6 days. Only 6 days.
Only 6 days, okay. Or I go on Sunday. Okay, thank you.
And then you're gonna have something come to the back of the building and do deliveries. I mean, you're gonna be right up against our fence, which, I mean, that's the whole reason why we moved up here, 6 years ago. It was because we had woods behind us, it was quiet. We were told when we first moved here that was like a swampland area and that nothing would ever be built.
Okay.
And that's where all the rainwater would go and things like that. And now you're gonna put a building there that's gonna cause nothing but issues to all the neighbors.
Okay, well, thank you for your input. Thank you.
Thank you.
Someone else, please come forward. Your house number is 163, ma'am, is that what you said? 163? Okay, thank you.
My name is Gerald Perry. I'm a resident at 173 Carnival Drive. First of all, I have to say that I'm actually kind of excited about this opportunity. We sorely need a hardware store here in Taneytown, so this makes me kind of excited what it has to offer. I do have a couple questions for you, though, and things I'd like to just put into consideration. First of all, where you're going to connect Carnival Drive to Antrim, the property that is to the west as we go towards Trevanian. At this point, are there any plans to develop that as part of the hardware store and lumberyard?
Not at this point.
And that would lead into the wetland area.
That leads into wetland set aside. Well, there's
Yeah.
space there though that could be developed.
Okay.
The other questions I have are around, kind of to her point, is have we taken into consideration things like environmental effects, noise pollution, light pollution, what that means for the neighborhood, as well as what is this going to look like for our property values? And I know this is really early in the planning process. I just want to go ahead and put these concerns out here because those of us who live on Carnival do have these concerns.
Lighting and all that will be considered during the process.
Yeah, there will be many more hearings here.
Yes.
Yeah, a number of them.
That's all I have at this point.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Pardon me?
No, this is a
Just
concept.
feel free to come. This is only
Stay involved.
yeah. It's only a presentation at this point.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Sir.
one thing, I'm still Mike Maskin from 177. The one thing I've noticed too about having this site here, around Taneytown, I found 3 different sites of abandoned businesses. What's the guarantee that they won't flop up and then we get stuck with a lumber yard that's abandoned?
Well, life has no guarantees.
I know, but I mean, why don't they try one of these other sites? It'd be a lot easier to knock down one little, the property right across from Skeets. It's just one building, and it goes back a ways and stuff. There's about, I don't know, 3 acres, 4 acres there. It'd be a lot easier to knock down one building than cut down a big woods and take out all the stumps and everything. It'd be a lot cheaper.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And there's other properties right across from PNC that look like used to be an old diner, and it's got plenty of property in the back. There's got to be 5 acres there that could be taken care of real easy too. That would take care of an eyesore and also develop a business. And the other thing, if they're driving down Carnival Drive and they're bringing heavy trucks, that road is not made for heavy trucks. It's a residential road. That road will turn into nothing in a year. I've seen that happen more than once. There was 40 years in construction. So what's the plan to reinforce the road, if it does go true, to make it usable for heavier trucks?
Okay, we'll take that in consideration. Is there a weight limit on that?
Carnival Drive, I believe, is weight restricted, so deliveries should be coming to and from the site from Antrim.
And that's something that...
And with big trucks, they can't do that then.
Well, if the trucks would access via Antrim Boulevard, even if Hartman Street connects, like the comprehensive plan calls for, Carnival Drive, I believe, is still a weight restricted street. So the only trucks that should be on there should be ones that are like making deliveries to properties on Carnival.
Right.
And that's an ongoing struggle that we face here in the city. Is we have a lot of commercial truck drivers that do not adhere to those weight restriction signs, and they drive dump trucks to their houses in residential neighborhoods, and we're constantly trying to stop them from doing that. But we have to be in the right place at the right time to catch them driving on those streets.
I understand what you're saying, sir. But I was living in Illinois and we had a street. There was a residential street, no heavy trucks on it. Semis were going down it because their GPS said so.
Yeah.
Before long, that road looked like a gravel road. The cops were pulling over constantly. It didn't stop them. Their GPS says one thing and they just follow it. They don't care. The company gets the ticket.
Right.
And, you know, I didn't buy this property. I'm retired on this property. I didn't buy it to have it wrecked. And if heavy traffic comes in front of my house, that road's going to be shot in no time. I don't know how we can take retention property and sell it. I don't know how we can keep a road like that in place by having heavy trucks across it, because you know yourself, these truck drivers are going to get whatever your GPS says. And then we're going to have problems. So those other properties, 2 of them are right on Baltimore. I thought if you would have a hardware store, you want it on the main drag where people can see it. Not off to the corner around past the Ford dealership. And also, on that property, right across the road, the guy's selling a whole bunch of property. Right across the street. And instead of taking up all the trees and everything, it's a plowed field. How hard is it to put a building in a plowed field?
So as far as the city's involvement in site selection, if somebody reaches out to the city, I want to open a hardware store, I want to open a fast food restaurant.
It's a plowed field. It'd be a lot easier, less cost than knocking down and taking out all the lumber.
I'll make a deal with you. That piece costs a lot more money. So if you come up with the extra money, I'll go for that piece.
Give me a percentage of the stuff.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your input.
So where I was going with that is we can point somebody. We can point somebody, and what we do is we can Our economic development director tries to keep a current list of properties that are on the market. We know what the properties are zoned. We know what the uses are that are permitted on that property. So we can say, okay, if you want to open business X, here are 3 properties on the market where that would be allowed by the city. At that point, it's between the property owner who's selling and the developer. I mean, somebody might select a site because they like the look of it. They might select the site because it's $40,000 cheaper than the same size parcel across the street. There's all kinds of reasons, and the city doesn't control property sales. Just like anybody in the room here, the city had nothing to do with how you chose, where you chose to live or where you chose to buy. We can just point people to the appropriately zoned areas of the city, but the city doesn't control whether, if the zone says you can have an auto parts store, you can put an auto parts store there. Even though we've got 4, there could be a 5th if the zoning allows it. It's not like we go out and look for a 5th auto parts store. But again, if the zoning permits it, our job is just to make sure that it's developed in accordance with all the city and county applicable codes.
And the zones be changed?
It can do. There's a comprehensive planning process where the land use citywide is considered every 10 or so years, and outside of that cycle, there needs to be either an error, that there was an error on the map or something like that, or there's been a change in the nature of that part of the community that warrants a change. But we're supposed to look at that citywide every so often, and that's why, basically the commercial areas are clustered together, the industrial areas are clustered together, and more or less residential is kind of clustered together. That's the style of zoning the city has had since, I guess, the 70s, where it's a separation of uses. But we still obviously do have situations where we have some properties abutting each other where you have potential for conflicts, like residential and general business. We have residential properties that unfortunately can hear drive-through speakers or hear music from a restaurant or things like that. So it does happen, and we can try to mitigate those things with buffering and screening and things like that. But as far as the actual use of the property, if it's allowed by zoning, it's just a matter of getting through the process and, it being a project that the developer thinks is going to be viable. So if they think a hardware store will be successful on this property, the code says they can have a hardware store, so now it's about making sure that all the rules are followed. So I'm sorry to go on about it, maybe a little planning and zoning 101, but some of the comments and questions make it appear as though folks think the city has more involvement in choosing who goes where. So, and that's really not the case.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, folks. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not done yet.
Sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Georgia Crowd, 157 Carnival Drive. I've lived there 33 years. I have nothing against doing it. The kids are an issue. They're definitely going to get hurt if you let the business come through Carnival Drive. The other thing, I don't want the back of my house lit up like a parking lot.
Okay, I understand.
I can walk out there and sit in the dark and hear the deer. That's the other thing. What are they going to do with the wildlife? Where are they going to go? We have peepers. I don't know if there's any bog turtles back there or not. But that is all to be considered too.
Okay.
And the other thing I wish is when you're going to discuss this, you notify all property owners. Not email, just like this registered letter we got. No email crap. A letter from the city that you're going to be discussing this.
Okay.
So, but you got your letter.
Yeah, I got my registered letter.
Okay.
That's why I'm here. But if you guys are gonna continue to talk about these things, we need to know in advance. With a certified letter.
Okay, so you got that.
So nobody can say, well, I didn't get that, I didn't get this. You gotta sign for it.
I'm a good bit confused right now. You have a letter in your hand that you got for this process.
For this meeting.
The sign was posted out there 2 weeks before, and we're diligent about it. CLSI knows our procedure. If you mess around to the 12th day and it's not posted, I don't have proof of that, we're not gonna let this hearing happen. All right, we want you to know that
The sign posted.
the sign's posted out on Ranch Boulevard.
Well, I don't live on Antrim Boulevard.
But you got a letter. So we can only do so much.
Our property's back to Antrim Boulevard.
Yes, ma'am.
So we don't go down Antrim Boulevard and see a sign.
But you got the letter, so that's why we do both. I don't know of another way, but know this, going forward after tonight, it's a good chance that, probably not next month, but down the road, there's gonna be a good bit more activity on this, in this chamber, on this property. The sign will be reposted, okay? And, I know we put the, agenda out, about, 4 or 5 days before.
And we want it in black and white.
Okay, so.
We don't want a sign. We want it delivered to us.
Tell you what we're gonna do. Somebody spearhead, be a leader, get a list of people that, want, and, I'd be glad to send out an email, maybe even a phone call. But the requirement is post a sign 14 days before the hearing. Make sure the certified letters go out. They're $8.10 a piece, all right?
Well, then just send us regular letters to know.
Man, who's gonna do that? So the requirement is to do that one time. I send that to certified in first-class mail, okay? I think that's reasonable. And again, I'm willing to email you. I'm willing to call you when the next activity happens, but I'll always send to my office, and I'll do that. Okay? Phone call work?
If it is on Harvard Drive, make sure you sign up.
Yeah, please do. Well, I can get you a piece of paper if you like, but yeah.
I think we've moved far enough along with this. There again, thank you, folks.
Thank you, Mr. Lapp.
Excuse me? Okay.
So I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I can understand your frustrations because I'm a nature lover myself. I just wanted to point out again, this is a 14-acre piece of property. We can only develop 5 acres of it. So there will still be a good bit of property that's going to be left intact. I walked the property on Saturday, and I just want to make you aware that, so do we want a business moving in, or do you want a tent city there? So there's already homeless people living in there. So do you want that to keep growing, or do you want to see a healthy, viable business? The other frustration I can understand is you already have swing sets on the property. You have backyard fences that extend into the property. I can see why you're frustrated, because you know that it doesn't belong there, and you're probably gonna have to move it. Unless, maybe we can just come up with a compromise. So, I'm not here to make enemies with anybody. I want this to be a viable community project. And again, thank you all for coming.
Thank you. I think we're moving on to the next thing on the agenda.
I got one quick question. Did you buy all 14 acres or just 5 acres? So you can develop it whenever you want? No.
You can't.
No.
There's only 5 buildable acres. The others has to be renewed in forestation and in wetlands.
Wetlands and set aside. 9 acres of wetlands set aside.
Okay, folks, we're going to move on to the next thing on the agenda. Elisa Moore? Elisa Moore. Yeah, I did too, but I didn't.
Yeah, we had.
Okay, folks, let's move on with the meeting. Felizio's. Jim or Dan or somebody wants to lead off on this?
One second here.
Excuse me, you folks at the door.
Yeah, you go.
Do you want to move your restroom down to Ralph Antrim?
The Antrim.
No. Okay.
Definitely not. No, I just happen to have a piece of land next to it. This is just coincidental.
Okay, we're here because, last month in January, we granted the concept plan, and I see you got the drawings. Is there anything else you want to add? Daryl, do you want to? Here's your preliminary.
We're presenting a revised site plan approval. In speaking with the county county looks at this as I know I messed this up. It's a light. Simplified site plan process. 75 county agencies are going to be reviewing this. Landscaping is not one of them, just want to be clear on that. When we had spoken, we had talked about a couple of things you see different on the parking. On the parking is that the Merlin Drive can be paved to 20 feet wide. Correct? So that satisfies the whole concern about vehicles being able to cross on that from the traffic generated from that, which is awesome. And then the parking on site, they went ahead and designed it per the parking specs that I supplied, whether in the city guideline. And that's about it.
So they met all the obligations we put upon them, right?
Yeah, what we had talked about is the parking. Yeah. Parking is one of them.
They took care of that, right?
Yeah, and there were some concerns about the alley. And they jumped in and said they would make sure it's 20 feet wide.
Okay.
All the way up to the curb at 140.
Back to the property?
The length of back to the entrance.
To the entrance, okay.
Yeah.
I see it now.
Okay,
Like, you
so you folks have anything else you want to add?
We're just ready to start working. We want to start working.
Okay. Commission have any comments?
I have no additional questions.
No additional questions.
Okay. Any comments from the floor?
Can you tell me?
Come up to the mic.
I just need to know what you're talking about. We've heard details about the name of what is this?
Where the favor house was at.
I'm sorry?
It's going to be Bellissimo's Taneytown. It's a little stone house at the corner of Merlin and 140 across from the bargain barn. A little stone house.
Yes.
We're a little far, but they're all from.
We're new here, so.
You know where the ice cream shack is? Do you know where the snowball shack is? Has a big snowball. I mean, have you moved here recently?
Yes, we've only been here like 6-7 months.
Okay, we're walking Taneytown. So, but in any case, it's right on Main Street, East Balmer Street.
Okay.
Across from PNC, beside.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay, little stone house. Okay.
Any other comments?
What type of facility is this? A restaurant, sit-down restaurant, carry-out, what is it?
Carry out delivery. Yep. Okay. I'll entertain a motion for approval of preliminary site plan.
I want to make a motion.
Made a motion by Bill, second by Dan. Any further discussion? All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, likewise? Don't leave. Is Jim or Dan or Dale, any reason we can't do a final? If they met all the requirements that we asked, and there's no outstanding issues?
Well, I haven't gotten all the approvals back through the county, but it was selling pretty fast. All right, so there's nothing that I was told from the county that gives me pause. but
Do you know what's outstanding? What particular issues that
not yet, no.
that we can move forward?
No. I know that a number, some of the items have been addressed.
For the building?
Yeah.
Everything's done. Just, the only thing I'm waiting for is Taneytown to hit the gravel, that's it.
So,
I went last week.
so with the preliminary, I still issue permitting.
Usually that goes after final.
Wow, okay.
So I haven't seen the file, so I'm not sure what letters are outstanding.
So you
Unless
say
you want to
we do
entertain
have some
a
outstanding issues.
I just haven't gotten the final letters. So, but again, nothing from the pre-submittal gave me pause. It was really simple. I mean, they're not even doing, they don't even have a requirement for the shrubbing or anything with that site plan.
Okay, so then we should be another month then.
What?
Be another month because we don't have all the information, right?
Do you want to recess and grab the file and see?
Yeah, let me see if I can find on that plan.
I went to Carroll County last week. He said the only thing we're waiting on is the zoning certificate from Taneytown.
Okay, so
Is that for the building permit?
Yes.
Okay, separate issue.
Oh, okay.
yeah, well, here's the other thing. We've had a scenario, with my office, I get every permit that goes down to the county, they send me what's called the need for city issuance approval. It's been messed up for a little while, but I think fixed. Let me go look up your case and see what I can't find. Okay? Just a little bit more time, Frank.
Okay.
So they'll be back on the agenda for next month, is what you're saying?
Well, I need more time, so hopefully we can just do a continuous when I get back from my office.
Look at now.
Can we have like a 5-minute recess?
5-minute recess.
We can wait 5 minutes.
All right.
I could wait all night.
Come up for a reason,
Want to take Jay? Wow.
Jay?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, you know, in situations like this, in the past, you've given approval conditioned upon getting all the county letters in the hopes that the county letters are going to come in this month or this week. So there's no problem because if they don't come in by your next meeting, you can deal with it then as well. But they can't move forward if they don't get the letters. And if it's just a matter of signing off, you have in the past, granted final approval conditioned upon receiving the letters.
So we can make a motion pending
Pending, yes.
receivable.
Yep. Okay, would somebody put that in form of motion?
Yeah. So it's pending all stuff coming from the
Yeah, pending, yeah, from the county.
What's this is the final plan, right? This will.
Final approval.
Yeah.
So I want to make a motion that we do the final approval for the Bellissimo's site plan, pending we receive all the letters from the county that we're currently waiting for.
A second.
Second by Bill. Further discussion. All those,
So that means that if you get the letters tomorrow, they can get
they can do
started.
it right.
Right. That doesn't hold you up.
You don't get the letter tomorrow, you can't
Can we
start.
go get our permit?
So once I have the letters in hand, electronically or otherwise, I can issue the permit according to what they're doing.
Can you just email me and let me know when?
I'm gonna call you both.
Very good. That's all we want to hear.
All those in favor of that motion, final approval, based on me getting the final letter from the county, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, likewise.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank the guy up there, too.
Show your mother. Show your mother. Show your mother. Did this. I don't know what to do. I don't know, you guys know how to begin. Okay. Try to stay away from this as much as possible. Ordinance and agreements review, there's none. Still, your planning and zoning report, which is
Okay, a bunch of things coming up just next week. On March the 2nd, the following items will take place. City staff will be discussing the concept plan for the 22 acres for Memorial Park Extension. That's pretty exciting. It's four.
Hold on a second.
Excuse me, guys, excuse me, we can't hear up here with too much in the background.
So the Memorial Park expansion is for multi-use fields. A building that has three components. One is like a storage room, like the football center has. A snack shack, if you will, multi-purpose room that will allow for cheer to do their 18 feet height requirement. So that's pretty exciting. Again, that will be on March the 15th at the Parks and Rec Advisory Board meeting. That meeting starts at 6:30. You'll be able to see what's going to be presented Thursday. So March the 15th.
15th.
And our meetings start at 6:30. Garden Ridge pre-submittal meeting with Carroll Green Development review will be also Thursday. Thursdays will be crazy, Jim.
Yeah.
And then also for Thursday, City Manager Wybrick and I will meet with Carroll County staff virtually to discuss planning major streets. And outside of that, Baldwin Park, still waiting on the golden letter. We're close still. It's you gotta be patient on that one. Could have had a child already. So it's close. Other than that, I have nothing else, sir.
All righty. We'll move on to our projects, which we already covered those.
Yeah, so I did reach back out to Sheets on the construction phase process. The gentleman's gone dark on me. There's a thing called everybody has a boss. That's what I'm gonna do next. It's just a simple matter of us getting the ability to do things right. And I know that the ponds look like the stormwater looks like it's being maintained, but we need to control that because that's something, it's in our town. So, we're holding their, they still have a surety on that project for $363,000. Yeah, so, like the gentleman said, my job is to open one and move on to the next one. So, so I'm gonna have to go a different route, but other than that, on the construction phase projects, again, Duffy addition, for as long as they've been out there moving stuff around, I think they're moving the dirt from one end to the other. I mean, it's...
One spot that's, back and forth, it seems like.
I noticed a large pad site, but I'm super curious as to what they're doing. I imagine for infrastructure, there's stormwater management and that type of thing, and what have you, but I don't think there's gonna be water in that building. So, and I know there's not a bathroom in there.
I don't know where to get all that red shell.
All right. So other than that, I have nothing, sir.
All right. Dave, legal report?
Good evening, everybody. I have nothing further to add than what I said already. It seems like all of the town's business right now is not dealing with legal things that affect the planning commission. So you all can be happy, but I'm sure that will change as the time goes on.
We're smiling, thank you.
All right.
Tiffany, how are we doing for the county?
We're doing all right. Just a few things to go over. The fall amendment to the 2019 Carroll County Water and Sewer Master Plan was forwarded to MDE, Maryland Department of Environment, for final approval on Wednesday, February 8th. There will be no processing of the 2023 spring amendment, as the goal is to complete the 2022 triennial update by late spring. Planning is processing that triennial update, and municipal water and sewer chapters and maps were distributed to staff for review and updates, and county staff will be presenting the chapters at the March, April, and May Planning and Zoning Commissions meetings. Transportation Master Plan, the Planning Commission continues to review the draft chapters, the annual report, thank you very much, Taneytown, has already turned all of that in, and we will be sending out a draft copy hopefully in May for review. 2022 Carroll County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Again, Taneytown was at the top of the list of being done and turning everything in they needed, while we're still waiting on some other jurisdictions, and hopefully we'll be getting that back to FEMA this week. Because it does in April, the requirements change, so we want to get it approved before April because we'll have to meet the new requirements and go through the whole process again if we don't get that done. And the economic development study, development and land use study, the next public workshop is planned for April 27th at 5 p.m. and all the information for that is available online. Any questions?
No.
No? Good night.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Okay, we're on to old business. Taneytown Community Comprehensive Plan, Chapter 3. Everyone have it?
Mr. Chairman, I do have one other item. So on the agenda, you see how it's a little bit different than it's been in the past. Up in the, after the review of minutes, there's more detail about what's going on in the meeting. So someone online can look at it. It's been asked for, so asked and you shall receive. So the information's there. There's not a whole lot of room to do that, and you can only type, so much on the agenda in the way it's configured. So yes, we can change things and put things side by side or whatever, but I think that would make it harder for people to follow as well. So, but I did get a couple thanks for us adding that information. So, people have to understand that we really do want to do the right things by you. Most of us here are volunteers, started out as volunteers, and put in years and years of work because no one else would in many cases. So these people are to be commended, and just not what you're seeing on Facebook, but we're doing everything we can. So in any case, it's good stuff.
Before you leave that thought, what really helps us up here is if you put in what you're looking for, if it's a concept plan approval or final plan approval or a presentation, whatever, appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Apologize. I left mine at home. Got one? Left it on the table when I picked up this one. Got one?
Mine's marked up.
I'll go make a copy.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you just move over and share.
Doesn't matter, we can make it. Sure? 5-minute recess. Put it on the table. And I just have everything else.
Yeah, so anytime you guys are missing something, so I'll email it. I get it. I need a hard copy. That screen does me no good. I kill many trees by printing off something. It's right on my daggone screen, but I need it that way. I guess I'm old. I'm old. So
You're not doing one. I use both sides a lot of times.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I like the cleanliness of a tablet or something like that, but it just doesn't work for me making notes and comprehension and that type of thing.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
While he's going down making copies, March 27th, suit everyone for the next meeting? It's good?
Hey, Jim. I have a question there.
You have a question?
Question?
Yeah, and you,
Please come to the mic so it's, I know I can hear you, but.
I'm Rich Frazier, we live outside Taneytown. You guys may not know what's going on per se, but you probably have more information than we do. Do you know what's going on with the old Havelock property?
Yes.
There you go, see?
Okay.
Can you enlighten us?
$10 a question. So $10 a question. So that's a wedding venue.
no, next, beside it.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Okay.
And the front side or this side?
This side.
So you're talking about Garden Ridge, the development?
Yeah, the 20 and 30 homes, duplex, triplex?
It's 50 total dwellings. It's 20 duplexes, and no, it's 20 triplexes and 20 of the others, for a total of 50 homes. I'm having a pre-submittal meeting with the county and them this week, Thursday. Everybody's having Thursday. So there is a small parcel of land on the Havilah side, if you will, that is commercial, that they plan to at one point make a retail space there, which is pretty cool. I think it's 5,100 square feet. So, and then you would have that, it is community village, so it's designed as community village, which means it's, in this case, it is age restricted. And so it's dense construction as far as less infrastructure, less things to worry about, 10 years down the road, 20, 30, whatever. And that's about it.
Just sort of goofy question. What about traffic management? Is there going to be a light put up out there, or is that beyond your?
Well, that is state highway. So I don't care if it's 10 houses or 300 houses. The county or state is going to do a traffic study, and it's completely independent. It's not the builders. It's not the city. It's independent. And
I'd just assume not go too far in depth since that's not on the agenda.
okay, I understand. So
Basic questions, but I don't want to go in depth. It may be on the agenda next month, it may not be on Facebook.
So the things I've told you are real, and it was annexed into the city in 2009. So 2009, think about that. So that's how long this has been able to happen.
Sorry about that, guys.
That's all right.
Thanks for being in trouble.
We needed a break. All right, back in session. How do we want to lead off here?
Where we at?
We're starting, I think you did a fine job at the last time we was on this, because you got your notes.
I got my questions. I don't have anybody else's questions.
Well, I got questions and stuff too, so Jim, if you want to.
You know, just kind of work through page by page.
Page by page, paragraph by paragraph, and writing down.
Yeah. And maybe just for the folks who did stick around for this part, we're looking at the chapter 3 of our comprehensive plan update. This is the chapter where we talk about things that were recommended in the 2010 plan and whether we achieved them or not, and whether they're still applicable goals for us to pursue in the upcoming plan. So
as we go down, let's just do what I have is listed as page 18. Does anybody have any comments on that? The question I had, and I think you answered it last month, and I still can't get it right. Create a residential office zone. It was the very last sentence at the bottom of the page.
We talked a little bit about that last month, and when this was drafted for the 2010 plan, we were seeing a lot of pressure to convert residences along the main streets into commercial uses.
That's right.
And there was pressure to rezone portions of Baltimore, York, and Frederick streets to commercial. And the idea was to try to preserve some of the character of the city that you see when you drive through those main drags. And the idea, I think, was that maybe creating some limited use would ease the pressure on people and avoid like a wholesale rezoning of our main streets to make them all commercial. I don't think we're seeing those same pressures today that we were 10 or 15 years ago. So that may not be an applicable goal anymore.
Okay.
So, but that's kind of for discussion. But that's kind of the history of it, I believe. At least my recollection.
Okay. Yeah, Yep, okay, so just to be clear, I think we started about this before, so everything you haven't read are going to be the new recommendations that we have underneath of Chapter 3 moving forward, right?
So these are, right, so these are the recommendations from the 2010 plan. So we need to decide if these are still things that we, are they things that we achieved? If we didn't achieve them, are they still things that we think are worthwhile objectives?
Okay. Yep.
So, for example, the first item, encourage walkability between residential and commercial areas. We have, new development has installed sidewalks, but we haven't done a great job of filling gaps where they exist, to tie some communities, to make some communities have a walkable, accessible route to commercial areas. So there's still work to be done there. So if that's a goal that we think we should still pursue, we may not get there. We may not allocate, the budget may not, have funds that we can allocate to start infilling sidewalks where we need them. But in the event we want to pursue a grant to do it, oftentimes it needs to be consistent, generally anything we do is supposed to be consistent with the comprehensive plan and advancing the goals of the plan. So if we want to still do that, we should still mention it.
Understand.
So, yeah.
Just keeping that thought, what you just said in mind here, that street we were talking about off of Carnival Drive, Hardman Street, that has sidewalks on both sides of that street as far as the dead end. I was surprised to see that. I was glad to see that.
Yeah, and that's the current city specification for any new street. Yeah, is sidewalks on both sides.
So that was good planning back then.
Yeah. So, overall, I think most everything on here, I think it's probably going to, I think we should probably keep it, but it does look, it's a lot of work. So, I know it's a long-term plan. But, sorry, Jim, you good on yours?
Yeah, I'm good. Just keep going.
So there was so you have a statement that says, protect the intent of the Taneytown Greenway alignment. So when we talk about the Greenway alignment, we're only talking about, I guess, the Antrim side bypass and not the Worthington Boulevard, right? So we're only talking about that portion.
Yeah, the Greenway was usually just referring to the Antrim Boulevard, the southern portion.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That wasn't referring all the way over to the other side of 140, that whole complete loop?
I don't think it referred to what we have been calling the Worthington Avenue portion.
No, it stopped at 140.
It's just from Trevanian Road around the south of the city back up to 140 in the Flowserve vicinity. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, so we talk about cluster development, and I guess, I know what cluster means. What do we talk about when we say cluster development? You're just going to cram everything together? I guess I'm not really sure.
I think cluster could have come up with a better word other than cluster.
Yeah.
So,
In 2010, did we use that word that way? I don't know.
I guess I'm just want to make sure I understand what it is. We're going to develop a cluster ordinance. I don't
It's
know
like
what
throwing everything in a basket and see what comes out.
Yeah. So.
And right, the idea would be to preserve open space, rather than saying each.
So we kind of have
say in our 20,000 district, or even our 40,000, which isn't on the map, but our code recognizes, instead of each house having to sit on a 20,000 square foot lot, you could say, they've got 100,000 buildable, square feet that they could use, and you would have to use all of that if you allocated 20,000 square feet per lot per the zoning code. But if you had a cluster ordinance, you could reduce the lot sizes, but not increase the density necessarily. So you would bring the houses closer together in order to preserve more open space.
Right. So it's the same
But
thing.
it is cramming stuff together.
It's same as a community village?
In a way, it's similar, but it wouldn't have all the additional stuff that community village has.
Okay.
And that one kind of ties to well, it is part of the land use chapter is what that recommendation was from. But when we think about city infrastructure and things, you know, does it make sense to, well, I guess we need to look at, you know, is it desirable to have half-acre lots served by water and sewer and public streets? You know, is that something that we want to continue to do? And when we start to get to the point where we look at the maps and we look at that yellow shading on the comprehensive plan map, we might want to have some conversations about, you know, is that desirable? Is that the best path, you know, for the best use of that area for the city? And that might be, you know, so we might circle back to that cluster ordinance at that point also. So there, you know, there may be a market for somebody who wants a half an acre lot, you know, but they're,
Yeah,
but
so
again.
I have, you know, so I understand the, you know, the less infrastructure and the perceived, you know, better, a bigger area for the environment, you know, I understand all that. I personally, so me personally, I have a problem with the high-density developments. That, you know, just because it's not the character of the town that I grew up in, that's all. I guess that's the best way to put it. So I still struggle with that a little bit, but I'm not I guess I'm not saying no way, I'm just saying I'm struggling with it.
I feel the same way. Yeah.
So anyway, so it'll be in here, but I mean, we'll go through and, I mean, we get a chance to talk about it again, right?
Yeah, yep, absolutely.
So, okay. So other than that, I'm okay on that page.
So do we want to keep the residential office zone, or do we want to?
Yeah, so again, a residential office zone means, you know, so I got a house on York Street and I want to put my insurance place in there, I can do that, but we want to keep the house kind of looking the same. We don't, right, that's what that means, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's basically what we have now.
yeah, I'm fine with that.
That's kind of what the restricted general business district was supposed to achieve.
Yeah.
But I was thinking more like some type of combination apartment building and office building underneath or something like, you know, offices. That's what I thought you meant when you said about create a residential office zone.
Yeah.
But I don't think Taneytown is designed for something like that.
Yeah, so I read that to be my house in York Street that I grew up in. I want to put a insurance business in there or something like that.
Yeah, I think that was the intent of that bullet point.
Okay.
Yeah.
If that's all local business, so it's covered anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
But at one time, we were talking about the glass property back there, that 14, whatever, how many acres it was. What if we put a building back there that was residential and storefronts underneath of it or something like, you know, that was just talk. But that's what I was thinking about, but would that happen here?
Right. This bullet point was more about the houses on the main drag on the state roads and allowing them to have some office uses without actually rezoning them. Kind of like you can have a doctor's office in R7500, but you're supposed to have an acre to do it. So, you know, for quite a while, I think every medical practitioner in the city probably had a variance on lot size because, you know, all the doctors we had in town were all on quarter-acre lots in residential districts. So, yeah, so you can have some non-residential uses in residential districts, and you know some of the properties on the main drags, you know, gets the visibility for the doctor or the dentist's office. But you know, sometimes we have interest in an insurance office or, you know, an office for a construction company, you know, something like that. So.
Okay.
So I'm good on that page. On the next page there, I think what you were talking about, Jim, so this urban mixed zone is basically what you were talking about, which is what we were talking about, you know.
I have a question, yeah.
Yeah, so the urban mixed zone would be a storefront on the bottom, maybe apartments upstairs, so you'd mix them together in a zone that we would have to create, correct? Because we don't have that provision.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. So it's still good to be there.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, the property has changed hands. The main property that was the focus of that idea, and actually Darryl and I will be meeting with them Friday to talk about a portion of that property, and maybe we'll glean some information from them as to what, you know, what type of development they envision, and see if that's something that can, you know, can match our vision for that part of the city.
Okay.
Okay.
This is,
And we're still working on the Taneytown Greenway, which is the bypass I had.
Bypass.
Oh.
So on the paragraph where we talk about, it starts with implement a sidewalk retrofit program. So if you go down about 3/4 of the way through that, I got confused trying to read this here. So, setting aside funds to construct and Chapter 6, Transportation 51, maintain. So did I read that right? So,
That, you read it the way it's printed there, but
so I didn't know what that meant. So we'll probably just have to go back and figure out what we meant to say there.
yeah. I will take a look at that. I don't know if that may be an issue from cutting and pasting off the other version back into Word or not, but yeah, that's a little bit gibberish there.
Yeah. So when we put this into the new plan, will we have the statement and or the recommendation with the explanation as we have here? I mean, is that what the intent is?
Right.
I think that would be nice to have that.
Yeah. So, right. I will work on putting some, I suppose, like almost a response to each of the bullet points as to, you know, what progress has or hasn't been made for each of them. So, you know, if for at least for all of those that we, you know, that we consider still relevant, if there are any that we come across that we don't think are relevant, we can just, you know, say that instead.
Yeah.
But and I think that Chapter 6, Transportation 51, should have been deleted.
Okay.
I think that was probably a cut-paste error on my part. So I think it's supposed to just read funds to construct and maintain sidewalks where they are most needed.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so as far as the explanation, you know, I think that would be good to have that in there. So for instance, like where it says create a residential office zone, at least you'd have a couple more words that kind of explains what that is, you know, so that there wouldn't be any confusion. So, you know, they know what our intent was. So,
okay.
A lot of work to go. That's all the comments I had on that page.
Well, I jump up to the next paragraph down when we talk about the alleyways. Wasn't there something we were supposed to be working on with the city council about the alleys? Or was that just in community village? Pardon me?
That was for community village.
Okay, so where else do we have alleyways that we're talking about that this would apply to?
That would certainly be the most likely area, I think, to have for a new alley. And where we're kind of sitting with that right now is we did share some draft language, the same draft language we had before you with the council. And we've actually had some conversations with one of the developers that's preparing a concept plan for a community village designated property. We wanted to see the council's comments on that draft that you saw earlier was, we don't want to give them a density bonus to, because they're already getting space that they can now use for lots that would have been dedicated to the alleys. But maybe we should get more open space if they choose to develop without the alleys. So that, you know, it's still a little bit of a trade-off, that there's some benefit that makes it, you know, a nicer community or whatever. If they don't do the alleys. So we're trying to kind of come up with what's a reasonable percentage, you know, to increase that, that still lets a project be viable. Because much as we saw with the community village as it's drafted now, if it doesn't lead to a project that someone can develop and build and sell to the public, there's no point in having, you know, if we're not in the, you know, if land values here aren't such that that kind of a project, that the numbers work for it, there's really no point in telling somebody that they can develop that way if it's not viable. So we've talked with a developer's engineer, and they're going to try to put together some ideas on, okay, if this is what community village looked like, here's what we could do, or here's what we couldn't do. So we're kind of waiting to get some feedback from them, because, you know, not that we're necessarily going to do what they want us to do, but I'd like to have their input as far as whether it's something that's achievable or not. You know, I don't think we can say, you know, if it's 25% of the net tract area has to be dedicated to open space. I don't want to just throw out a random, okay, well, if you don't do the alleys, now it's 35%. Well, 35% might be huge for somebody, you know, for them. It might really eat into how many lots they could develop, and then the project won't happen. So hopefully we'll get some, you know, some feedback on that, and you know, I'm sure, you know, many developers and engineers would like to see, there's a lot they would like to see that we're not going to deliver, and we're not going to give them the opportunity to do. But I think it's helpful to at least have those conversations as we're contemplating the changes we want to make.
Maybe a percentage based on units or something like that, or
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll come up with something based on units.
Yeah, so they have a designer actually looking at the site, you know, their particular site right now, to come up with, you know, okay, well, if this was the code we were going by, let's see what we could do, you know, so.
As far as this document goes, we want to have that in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're on page 20, right?
Yes.
Okay, what can be done with floodplains?
So I had a question. So we talked about creating a linear trail system within the 100-year floodplain. I mean, how much floodplain area is there actually in the Taneytown limits?
A lot.
When I looked at the map, it didn't look like a lot to me.
I think there's quite a bit.
Within the city limits, there's not a huge amount. There's a lot in the growth area.
Okay, in the growth area? Okay, maybe.
Well, I looked at the whole,
yeah.
So it looked like along Piney Creek?
Right, Piney Creek has a pretty expansive floodplain.
At that end of town, I guess coming across the gully there.
From Cross Mill Road, coming right down.
Yeah.
Down here by the Duffy's.
Yeah,
I think there are some, I think on the opposite side from Allendale Lane, I think in that area where Cross Mill Road comes in, I think there are actually some wetland pockets over there. I don't know about floodplain yet. I don't think it's a FEMA mapped floodplain, but when the developer gets into doing all of their detailed
everything I
surveys.
saw was outside of town limits, so maybe it's in the growth area. I didn't compare that map area.
Yeah, so you're right, though. Within the city, there's not a lot. Frederick Street, there's a little bit. You know, down towards the bottom of the hill where the bridge is, there's some 100-year floodplain there.
We get mixed up sometimes, the difference
Some
between
York Street.
floodplain and wetlands.
Yeah.
And that could be, yeah.
Well, I was looking at the 100-year floodplain map on the county website, so that's what I was looking at.
Yeah.
But so we have it in here. There's really nothing that, I mean, it's in our comprehensive plan, but there's really no action that we can take until that growth area becomes part of the town, right?
Right.
So what actually can we do with floodplains, 100-year floodplain? Is there, other than walking paths, can we do walking paths and things like that, nature, kind of nature things?
We can't do any structures. We've adopted the county's floodplain ordinance, and theirs is one of the stricter versions where some jurisdictions allow construction in the floodplain provided it meets certain criteria, like you can do elevated things, or you can have floodgates that will allow water to pass through a storage area on the ground floor, and then the living area is raised above the flood elevation. But in Carroll County, they don't do that. So you can't do filling in floodplains, grading. You can't do anything that increases the flood elevation in the air. Should the area become inundated, you can't put something in there that displaces the water and broadens the floodplain or affects the downstream property. So there's really not a whole lot you can do.
Walkway.
So, and
with some signs that say this is an oak tree.
I thought about the walkways, but then you run with the issues of ADA.
Right.
So, you kind of limit.
Yeah.
And
unless you make it a nature, just an open nature type thing, and get credit for that somehow as a usage or a designation other than the 100-year.
Right. And, we do have a lot of restrictions in place that make stuff like that, if we talk about, this trail network, then it's like, well, you can't do anything else there, so we may as well make it a natural amenity, and people like to walk. The walking trail around the pond gets a tremendous amount of use. Hopefully, once we get through with Bollinger Park, hopefully that will be used, probably not to the same extent because it's not as convenient, but then we also have things like, stream buffers where we can't disturb anything within so many feet of a stream. So, there is a lot of regulation we need to deal with to do something like that. It's, as we're learning with Bollinger Park, it's, even, just building something with a walking trail can be, now our goal of making it an ADA compliant trail certainly made it much, much more difficult. But, we're finding there's a lot involved with it, more than I think we would have imagined getting into it.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
So I was good with most everything else on that page. Down on the bottom paragraph. So it says, at the city level, water and sewer, police protection are the major issues that fall under the city jurisdiction. So I realize that they pay for the police, and the city pays for the police and stuff like that. But I guess it seemed strange that we didn't really talk about considering the fire department or the services that are provided by the fire department. I think the fire department
pages back here.
We exist because we're in the charter of Taneytown, right? So I guess I didn't know where that was addressed anywhere. I guess when they do the adequate public facilities ordinance, I don't know if they consider the fire department.
They do, yeah, and that's somewhere here, because I got a note about the fire department.
I find it hard to believe that we keep putting up buildings if they consider it.
Okay, so we're good on 20.
So you think that's in here somewhere?
Somewhere, I got a note somewhere about something about it.
Okay.
Because it says about the police and something else, and the fire department was missed.
Okay, yep, I'll relook.
So, 21? Bill, you okay?
Yeah, so far.
Okay.
So on this second bullet down, so we talk about we want to expand the senior center site. But then it talks about Carroll County should promote ways to expand communities. So I mean, this is like a town comprehensive plan. So I didn't know why we were talking about Carroll County promoting.
Yeah. Essentially, I think because the senior center that's a county-operated facility, but it's within the city limits, so it is still considered a community facility for us, even though it's not city-owned and operated.
Yeah, but I guess, yeah, for me, it was just like, I mean, we don't say in here, Carroll County should be looking at these areas to put in trails or protecting. We say Taneytown should. So here, it just seemed like it should say, Taneytown should promote ways.
Say it again.
So the second paragraph down here, right? So there it says, Carroll County should promote ways to expand community involvement in the use of this public building.
And that could be, that could be better worded as something like the city should coordinate with Carroll County to ensure programs are, offered, something like that.
I'd be better with that, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
I'm good with everything else on that page.
Okay. Was there anything else down there almost next to the last, before we get to chapter 9? I noted here about the buffered area being buffered. Let me just read what I got here. 22 growth area and farm out for takes place.
Yeah, and that's.
I guess I have something that needs crossing. I guess the issue was between the residential and the farm.
Right, that's something that's been called to our attention repeatedly, based on what happened with Meads Crossing and, that, right, with there not being that much of a buffer between the dwellings and the agricultural, the preserved farm that's adjacent to Meads Crossing.
Yeah, and this is just saying that we should be aware of that and try to do the best we can, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But like you said, we can't make the site beside it invisible.
Right. Okay, page 22.
So on the third bullet down for me, we talk about allowing a mixture of use in residential neighborhoods to promote a sense of community level, blah, blah, et cetera. So I think what that says is that, within like a development area, we want to have like small stores within that development. Is that what we're proposing?
I believe that is the idea, yeah. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm in favor of that. I'd have to think about that a little bit more.
Because there's a lot of questions about the viability of that setup, and I think what this bullet point is shooting for is almost something like some of the older neighborhoods in Columbia have, where they have like a little village center that serves, Columbia is made up of numerous neighborhoods. And a lot of them have a little village center that's got, a very modest shopping center, a dry cleaner, convenience store, maybe another service business or two. And it's kind of embedded within, a residential sphere around it. And there are some that are larger that have grocery stores or something like that as well. But they're designed to serve like the immediate neighborhood, or some of them were. I think that concept is, I think the idea was that, you could walk to, some services from your house from a lot of that, area. I don't know if that model translates to, Northwest Carroll County. And when we've talked about, and I'll give you the example of Section 7 of Meadowbrook, where they just put the 4 additional houses most recently. So not to, at one point that property was zoned for commercial use. And the idea was, it could serve the Meadowbrook community. And, it's turning out that, small parcels like that that are not on a main drag are very hard to market from a commercial standpoint. Nobody really wants to locate there. And eventually that little strip was switched over to R10,000, so that they could put the houses there. So I don't know if that, the idea of being able to walk to some service businesses, like we can downtown, not that there's that many businesses, but, or folks, out at, Grand Drive can walk to the shopping center. That's desirable for a lot of people, but the viability of those businesses in a neighborhood setting is really kind of not something we see success with.
Well, we really don't have anything from the
And it
north
also
or west.
would require some zoning tweaks to enable that, and we haven't moved on that. And, I mean, look at what we had tonight.
Yeah.
Residential, property owners unhappy that a business was going next door. So, I don't know how you, I would think some people would love to be able to walk to a convenience store, but,
I just think that if you were, I would think it would be a small store if you were in a development, so therefore, generally, the prices are gonna be higher, and people are gonna say, hey, I'm gonna drive out to the grocery store and get my Coke instead of walking down here and getting it. I mean, that's what's gonna happen, I think.
Small Harvey store, right there where somebody can go get a loaf of bread and a quart of milk.
Kermie Reed's.
Yeah, or something, Kirby Reed, yeah, that goes way back.
but that, I mean, that's kind of the economics of it is, right?
Yeah.
That,
Yeah. I didn't think you were that old.
Yeah, oh yeah, I remember Kermie, yeah. Yeah, so I guess I'm not.
So I don't know if that's something that, we consider, I mean, certainly to facilitate that, we would have to do something zoning-wise to enable that, really.
Right.
We talk in Community Village about non-residential uses within the community village, but we really don't have much in the way of properties that are laid out with multiple zoning on the same parcel that would really enable that. And with our Euclidean zoning, where we categorize everything by use and say these uses go here, these uses go here, and so on, that makes this village center idea really challenging.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, if we put it in this document, as long as if it was saying that we're going to consider it, I would be probably okay with that. But I wouldn't want people to read it and come in here and say, hey, your comprehensive plan said you're going to do this. Because I'm not sure I necessarily agree. So I guess it depends on if it says we're going to
consider, explore, something like that.
I'm fine with that because I don't know all the ramifications. And
Right, just don't make it so it's like demanding it.
Right.
Well, you think the words mom and pop is outdated?
I knew what he meant.
I do too. I mean, but I'm thinking.
I still hear that term pretty frequently.
Will do.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the only note I had on that page.
Makes us feel down home here still.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's all right.
Page 23.
I got nothing.
I had nothing on 23. Bill, well, I know you didn't. Yours is home. Okay, 24. Okay. Somewhere in that, I got a note here sideways, dealing with the county and the County Planning Commission. Tiffany, I remember a couple years back, the County Planning Commission had a joint meeting with all the municipalities all at once, one meeting. It'd be neat to have something like that again for the county to give us some input or just something that representatives from all, 8 municipalities would be join them in one meeting. And it could probably be like a special meeting that they wouldn't have anything special on their agenda other than updating us on things and just open for discussion, kind of like a big round table. It'd be neat to have something like that.
Are you talking about the paragraph where it says encourage both cities?
I don't know, I got too many circles. I don't know where. but it's about the first quarter down.
I think it's the fourth one down.
I mean, I think that bullet point is speaking more to, there being more additional training opportunities for both county and municipal planning commissions, and our planning commission, not that we're talking about other municipalities necessarily, but, and maybe there might be some opportunity maybe through the Maryland chapter of the American Planning Association or something that could be made available.
So I definitely think that we should be encouraging taking advantage of training opportunities. So, we went to Frederick, that was really good, although it was, the last day was like painful. It was long. But it was pretty good.
Very
and some of the
informal,
stuff that we did. But then I also think that actually the conversations that we're having right now, the on-the-job training, I think is super valuable. And we don't really get that a whole lot. We get the packets handed to us and we all look at them on our own. And then we get here in front of everybody and then we have to talk about stuff. And it's, so I really think if there's more an opportunity to have a cup of coffee, I got it that, the town has to be invited to it, but I don't care. We'll have a coffee and sit around and talk. But the type of conversations that we're having now, I would appreciate having more of it, just to understand, what people were thinking, what you guys have seen over the years, et cetera. So, encouraging that, I'm all in favor of that.
So Jim and I were talking earlier today, and maybe, I'm not trying to get every $30 worth of your stipend, but maybe for stuff like this, we do this before the planning commission meeting, an hour before, for instance, and get some of this stuff rolling, because we came out of, kicking on this, and then this chapter we knew was gonna be very challenging anyway. But maybe if we can agree to, over the next couple of months, spend, maybe an hour earlier on this and get some of this knocked out. I mean, there's a point where we're gonna be like, all right, we're making some headway. And at least the things that we can do ourselves.
If we do that, then we still should be open to the public.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
no closed door meeting, I mean, open to the public so we can get, if they're here and we bring something up, we can get some input.
Yeah. And it'd be, time limits, you only have the same thing, 7, 8 different, slightly different versions and, but yeah, I mean, I think that'd be a good way for us to make some headway on this because we're way behind. We're not the only ones.
No.
But we, gotta get something out soon or, we'll be changing the date again and starting over.
Yep, I'm good.
Anything on the next one down? Somewhere I got a big note says R20. I'd still like seeing R20 somewhere.
Yeah.
Can't remember what that means. I did this 3 months ago, 2 months ago.
Yeah, so I guess my comment that I wrote down here is similar to what I said before, so as far as having the community village like as something in our toolbox, I think that's okay, but I'm not in favor of using that tool right now.
Yeah.
And then, and again, along the same lines, then with the next paragraph down there, I just have a note that, I'm struggling with the compact communities concept. So that's just, again, more of the same for me.
Yeah, and even, I think, R10, I think, does meet smart growth density barely. So, even like, Meadowbrook and stuff is still considered smart growth. I have a cheat sheet down at my desk, but I probably shouldn't speak to it without my cheat sheet. But,
Well, it's interesting what they say, smart growth, because it might be smart for one person, but not for the other.
Yeah, it's
not smart for the farmers.
Right, and I guess, the idea being, where community facilities exist and can accommodate additional growth is the basic idea, but, our traffic numbers show us that, okay, maybe we're practicing smart growth, but we're still seeing a tremendous amount of traffic that's not generated within the city that's causing a lot of our congestion issues. And, I'm sure not all of that's coming from out of state. So,
Right.
so somebody's building somewhere that's still putting traffic on the roads, which, well, yeah, we won't get into all that right now.
You're on 25, right?
I'm on 25.
Okay.
Yeah, so my only comment was on here was, we talked about identifying and developing public spaces in the downtown area. So my only comment was, I'm not sure how to do this, but it sounds good.
Say it again?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to do it, but it sounds good. Identify public space in the downtown area, so not lack of parking, city square, public areas in the downtown area. So, I don't. To me, I guess when I was reading these paragraphs, I was thinking, hey, the old town that has a park bench where people can come and sit and watch traffic go by, that kind of stuff. And
Yeah, or someplace where they could, where we could hold events that, wouldn't have to be at Memorial Park.
Right.
Where we could have smaller events that would be focused on the downtown area.
like the park that's in New Windsor at 75.
That sort of area.
right there,
That's kind of what I was envisioning.
Or even, I guess it's not downtown, but like in Littlestown, they have a park that's just a block off Main Street, that's, something akin to that, but that would be walkable for the downtown area that, would be like a public gathering spot. So.
Got to remember, 20-town's not like Newmarket or Ellicott City. I mean, it's 20-town.
It's Taneytown,
yeah.
Okay. 26. I didn't have anything, that's all marked out.
Nothing.
27.
Additional comments.
Obligation and expectations does this bring to the town? How do we address them? I can't remember what it was.
You probably only made those notes 3 months ago. Come on.
Pardon me?
You probably only made those notes 3 months ago.
Right.
Come on.
I
think that's the first time we had this on the agenda.
But I made notes.
Yeah.
I should have reviewed and made notes of what I made notes to. Okay. You had anything on 27, A1?
I have nothing.
All right.
Jim, was it by chance something based on the feedback from the Sewell annexation? Because I know we had a lot of conversations about that, since we're talking about annexations and development here.
Okay. What page we on? 28. Okay, on 28, about the fifth paragraph down, whatever, we talk about adequate public facilities provision. We got in there fire protection, water and sewer service, but there isn't anything mentioned about fire and EMS service. It says in 2004 is where it starts out.
With Jim here, we would need a budget amendment.
See where I say it?
Yep.
Amendment for the long range and short range change.
You guys on a different page?
Yeah.
We're on 28.
28, yeah.
Yeah, so this talks about the summary of new legislation, right? So it says in 2004, we adopted public facilities, right? Adequate public facilities provisions. So I guess what you're saying, Jim, is that in that they do consider fire service, so we should mention it here.
Yeah, in the adequate public facility provision, fire, I know fire is listed, so fire and EMS should be part of that in this sentence, or in this paragraph, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think that's supposed to be an all-inclusive statement, but, we can certainly add fire EMS to it.
Yeah,
You know, it
it-
also doesn't refer to, you know, schools,
or-
for example, but that's part of
Right,
it also.
school's not in
yeah.
there either, but that's,
Right. Yeah, as I said, I think that was just, you know, that such as was just supposed to be a couple examples, not all encompassing.
Right.
that's the only thing I had on 28. '29, 1, 2, 3, the third paragraph had something about box stores. Matter of fact, I just had somebody the other day wanted to know why Taneytown couldn't have a box store. We're having a hard time getting a hardware store, right?
Have them watch the video of Jay giving the presentation on economic development. Is that in there, is this where he talks about the cost or the density that you have to have in
How
order
we need
for-
rooftops before we get retail.
Right,
Right.
right.
That was that's something we should probably put that online, Jim. Because that was so well, is it already,
There, but
is
it's
it?
probably not called out,
Yeah.
you know, as that. It's just embedded in the meeting, but it's out there.
Oh, it's in the meeting, yeah.
Okay. That's the only thing I had on 29.
Yep, I got nothing.
And I just,
What about the box store?
I don't know, I just had it there in red, box stores, question marks. 2010 reaches a certain population threshold. The growth may also trigger interest in larger retails.
Oh, okay.
And I guess that's why I picked up box stores. But what you have there is fine.
But actually, I know I'm just looking at the second paragraph down, and we talk about the areas anchor businesses, Flowserve, Evapco, and Harney Woodworking.
Oh, yep. Yeah, that's gotta go.
Yeah.
And it goes on to say the former Cambridge rubbers being revitalized.
Yeah, and I guess that's still happening slowly.
Okay, we good?
Yeah, I'm good.
We're good, Jim.
Yeah, I think I still have some edits I need to make on those last few pages, but we'll.
Okay. Yep.
So we completed like the first, this 3 chapters, right? That's what- and,
I'm not sure if chapter 2 is demographics.
So I guess I was just, so what we've reviewed so far, I mean,
We
I know
jumped
you got, I
around.
know you got 1 or 2 other tasks to do, but will we get the next version so we can read that?
I'm hoping we can mark up another chapter and talk about it in March, I guess.
Like the next chapter, but I mean, the previous chapters that we've already reviewed, can we get enough data of those
Okay,
to review?
okay.
That's, you have an assistant? You got an assistant, right?
Okay, anyone else? have-
How are your?
Oh, I
your typing
gotta
skills?
write letters to 345 people.
Bill, you have anything?
No, I'm good.
Right.
I don't.
Okay.
Nothing here.
The status of Lee. Lee Han,
Oh,
what's the status?
excuse me.
So Lee has moved out of the city, so he will need his seat here as well as on the council will need to be, well, I expect his council seat probably will not be appointed because we're so close to the next election.
May, yeah.
So hopefully the mayor will, I don't know if the mayor will want to appoint an ex officio, to the planning commission for the interim between now and the next election. I will inquire about that.
But if
But
anybody's,
at this point, I haven't had a conversation with the mayor about his intent there, so.
but if anybody's interested, they could, oh, so, no,
Well,
this would be a
right,
councilman.
His seat is
Right,
the
that's
ex
a liaison.
officio from the council, so we need to have
Yeah.
ideally, we will have another council member sitting there.
Understand.
at least until the election, and then they'll probably reassign who's the liaison to what department and who's going to be the ex officio for which board. So, but it would be nice to have, have council representation between now and May. Yeah,
Two councilmen going off, right? Or up for
two
reelection?
up for election, yes.
Two of them, okay.
Right.
Lee and,
Dan.
Lee,
Dan
Steve,
Haynes.
and Dan.
okay. Okay, anybody else have anything? I'd like to say March the 27th. Make a motion for adjournment,
Motion to adjourn.
second by me. All in favor, thanks.